Hello everyone, it's me, Monica P. Hall, aka Conduit of Healing, and it is time for our 2022 message for the collective. So this is going to be a different message from anything that I've done before, probably since the first message I gave last year in January, kind of just giving you insight to the entire year, themes that are going to be coming up, reoccurring things that are going to be coming up for all of us as a collective, but also for us as an individual, okay? Because individuals make up collectives. So whatever you can do in terms of making sure that you do your very best to pay attention to these themes, to heal from stuff that you need to heal from, to make transformations that you need to transform. Let me just remind you, you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it for the collective. Okay, so let's get right into it. 2022, according to numerology, is a 6-year, universal 6-year. But the crew asked me to really break it down to all these twos, okay? So 2 is the number of partnership. 2 is the number of the beginnings of collaboration. When we're not just thinking about ourselves, we're not just the only source of energy in terms of creating, in terms of organizing, in terms of collaborating. So there's actually 6 themes that the crew wanted me to mention. And this is definitely one of those times where you want to save this so you can refer back to it later. You know, as we know, when things happen, we sometimes forget predictions. We sometimes forget, warnings that we've had, things that, people like me, psychics, readers, divinators, try to do to kind of prepare us for what's to come. Okay, so this is the one you want to save. This is the one you want to share. And obviously, if you've been enjoying messages for the collective, if you've been with me the whole time, first of all, thank you. I hope you had a good holiday. I hope this year is kind to you in that you are kind to yourself in it, and that you really do take these messages to heart. You really do the work that's needed for all of us to progress forward, for all of us to ascend. Okay, so yes, if you're enjoying this message, like it, save it, comment on it, share it with people. This is the one. If you do nothing else in 2022, if you listen to no other messages, please listen to this one, because I don't want you coming back saying, you didn't warn us, you didn't tell us. It's happening, and it's happening right now. Okay, so let's start getting into it. So there's going to be 6 themes here. I wrote this stuff down. I'm going to read it first, and then I'm going to elaborate if I feel like I need to. So the first theme is about collaborations. Okay, so we have all these 2s, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. So what does the crew want us to know about collaborations? All right, so collaborations, projects, communities, and organizations to help institute changes for the better are going to be a huge part of 2022. People will begin to realize the machine of economy and commerce, and that those things or those institutions care nothing about personal health or the prosperity of health, okay, in the face of profits. So as we all know, we are still in a situation where we are in a pandemic, and there has been yet another variant, okay? I know a lot of people in my community, the divination community, the New Age community, we all knew that this was going to happen. Some of us have known probably since August or September of 2021. And if you're upset with us for not sharing this information with you, you have to realize that a lot of us are very sensitive to the fact that a lot of people have been struggling, mental health wise, emotional health wise, and they just really couldn't bear any more challenges in the form of predictions. But we have been talking amongst ourselves, and so when this new variant came out, a lot of us were not surprised so much as kind of saddened that we're still kind of here, and that certain lessons have not been learned, and it is not clear to everyone yet that the individual contributes to the whole, contributes to the collective, so that when you're actually taking care of yourself, you really are taking care of everyone else. Remember once upon a time where it used to be everyone would talk about oneness. We are one. I don't know. It's sort of like people forgotten we are one. We're still one. So this year, because it's becoming clearer and clearer that institutions will not be able to survive without our labor, without us spending money, without us being in debt, it is going to be up to us to organize amongst ourselves to insist that these institutions change status quo, because some of us have just had it. All right. That leads me to another theme that I feel like kind of ties into this really well. And that is the theme of continuation of forced self-evaluation. And why do I say forced self-evaluation? Like, who's forcing us? Well, that's Magic. He's upset because I won't let him be part of the show. So you'll just have to ignore him until he quiets himself. But what's forcing us? Well, it's the cosmos, right? So we're getting all of these energies in, right? That have been stripping away all of our distractions. And this is what the crew has to say. Due to the pandemic, most forms of distractions have been removed. Problems long buried are surfacing, looking to be healed. This will cause friction within oneself, feeling lost, stuck, unfulfilled, bored. A lot of people settled in their lives for jobs and relationships that were short of what they wanted and what they dreamt of. Now is when it becomes too much to bear. Now is when things fall apart faster than ever. Okay, I feel like I need to really go into this because, I've been doing readings. People got readings at the end of the year. People are getting readings now. It's the beginning of the year. And obviously, if you need to schedule a reading with me, please go to my website, www.conduitofhealing.com/service. All right. And I can help you through this because a lot of people are feeling lost. They're feeling stuck. They're feeling unfulfilled. They're feeling just unhappy in general. Those of us who were forced to look for new jobs, those of us who were forced to look for new jobs because the place that we were employed cared nothing about our well-being, cared nothing about exposing us to, the pandemic, to COVID, to caring about whether or not they made changes in terms of ventilation systems and social distancing, said come into the office anyway. You were doing your job just fine at home, but you couldn't be micromanaged. We couldn't breathe down, your neck. We couldn't give you the anxiety and the fear of making sure that you were going to keep your job, keep your paycheck, and all those fear tactics that they use in order to force people into being highly productive at the detriment of themselves. Now a lot of people they don't care anymore. They're over it. They're done. God bless all the healthcare workers that watch my show. I appreciate you so much. I know that you are going through so much right now. And that's actually kind of disturbing when you have healthcare workers no longer feeling that they can maintain their jobs. They're being attacked, they're being hit, they're being exposed. They are suffering abuse of violence for people who, do not trust these individuals to know how to do their jobs. So thank you so much for those of you who decided to hang in there. And those of you who are like, I'm done, I've had it. I get it. I have so much compassion for you. You absolutely deserve to be healthy and happy in spirit, mind, and body. So do what you need to do for you. Those of you who have been dealing with breakups, relationships, marriages, friendships, that happened a lot in 2021. It's not going to let up in 2022. Why is that? Because we are being forced to look at what matters to us, what makes us happy, What are the things that I absolutely can't live without? And I gotta tell you, your health is gonna be, pretty high on the list. And health, I just don't mean your physical health, right? I mean your psychological health, your spiritual health, right? I have so many people who can't place the thing that is wrong. They're calling me, we're in sessions, they're like, I don't know, like, my job is fine. I don't love it, but it's fine. Fine is no longer cutting it, people. I'm in a relationship. It's fine. But that's not the purpose of relationships. Relationships are like accessories to a really good outfit. They're actually supposed to enhance the look of the outfit. So therefore, relationships are actually supposed to, in theory, not always in reality, make us better. So if you settled in your relationship, you settled for, that person, you settled for that friendship, and it was not what was, in your best and highest good, and it's been really hard to kind of deal with these people, deal with yourself with these people, deal with these situations because you've been in each other's faces so much. Yeah, that was part of what the pandemic was supposed to do. Because here's the thing. This is the truth about being a human being. If we can get away, we're going to run away. If we can deny, we're going to deny. And we're going to do it until we can no longer run. And we're going to do it until we no longer can deny. And unfortunately, for some people, that will be to the point of death. It's our truth. So there's going to be more of that this year where you are going to be forced to either reevaluate yourself and make the changes that you need, or there could be a lot more breakdowns in order to move towards that breakthrough. I've had people who want to leave their jobs. I've had people who want to move out of the country. I've had people who are absolutely sick of walking around wounded all the time, walking around unfulfilled, walking around, feeling bad or guilty that they have all the things and yet they still feel empty on the inside. When we are not living our truth, when our soul is not happy, we're not happy. I'm going to remind you again because, it used to be easy to forget. Now it's kind of hard to forget. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Our human experience will never negate the fact that if our spirit is our soul, because we're still embodied, if our soul is unhappy, we're unhappy. Period. No question, no comma. It's not an argument. We don't have to go back and forth about it. Because here's the thing. When your soul is unhappy, your aura shows it. Your energy shows it. How you interact with people shows it. How you perceive the world shows it. How you react to life's challenges shows it. There, you can deny all day, but what doesn't lie? Spirit and energy. Okay? That's why I'm good at my job, because I understand the language of spirit and the language of energy. I'm able to read it. I'm able to interpret it. I am able to translate it. So this is why it makes it very difficult for us to live a lie. It's very difficult because in order to live a lie, that means your spirit has to be killed off. And, some of y'all have done that. And you suffer the consequences therein. And sometimes a lot of you find out that before you can leave a situation that you have settled for, the situation leaves you. All of a sudden one day your partner who you've been with for 17 years, 20 years, 30 years walks in the house and says, I'm done with this and I'm done with you. And I've had people going, I can't believe this is the case. We've been together so long. And we got to let go of the idea of sentimentality when it comes to things. That's okay, like baseball cards, heirloom jewelry, so on and so forth. But staying in a marriage, holding on to a friendship that went from something beautiful and loving to something toxic and soul killing. Nobody's obligated to stay in that just because you've been doing it for a long time. When it becomes something that is, a beautiful relationship that's rewarding to a toxic relationship that's a bad habit, yeah, it's morphed into something that's no longer good for you. No one should want to be in that. But if you decided you're going to continue to suffer, there's no guarantee that your partner or partners, or whatever the situation is, your friend, is going to sign up to, paddle down the river of denial for the rest of their lives with you. They don't owe you that just because you spent 17 years together or 20 years together. No one owes you their life. If you haven't figured that out, let 2022 be that year, be that time. So yes, there will be continuation of cosmic forced self-evaluation. All right. And that ties into our next thing, back to the basics. That's going to be a theme for this year, back to the basics. Let's see what the crew says. All right, so more and more you will find people choosing to remove themselves from a work-driven society. This will be vigorously resisted by the captains of industry in the form of inflating prices for bare necessities. Everything will get more expensive to force all of us to acquiesce to the machine of economy and capitalism. If you haven't noticed it, I'm not sure where you've been, but yes, there's a supply chain issue. But at the same time, that has nothing to do with merchants just price gouging. That has nothing to do with like big box stores trying to, corner the market on all the necessities we need for life, especially things like food, utilities, clothing, those things. So get hip to it because it's already happening. So this will prompt people to actively begin seeking to work with small businesses, local businesses, or going into business themselves as they begin to realize the only way to stop a destructive monster is to starve it. So, we just celebrated Kwanzaa in the African American community, those of us who celebrate, and that really, the principles of Kwanzaa really do talk about self-determination, about, unity, about, working within the communities. And I find it very interesting that some people are just discovering Kwanzaa, but the things like self-determination, that's kind of like a universal principle at this point. Things like collaboration and unity, it has to become universal at this point in 2022 because we are really getting closer and closer to the, civilians versus the machine, to the have-nots or the trying to hold on tos to the haves and trying to keep everything. So I do encourage all of you, if you're feeling like, disgruntled, you don't want to be part of kind of this self-destructive situation that we find ourselves in. I would say not only as a nation, but probably as a global community, really start figuring out alternative ways to get all your necessities and the things that you need, whether you're growing it yourself, whether you're buying it small, whether you're buying it local, whether or not you're joining a co-op, or you're really just doing what you can to give the people back their own personal power, to give us back our voices, to maintain the freedoms that we're all entitled to by birth, okay? We shouldn't have to pay an exorbitant amount of money of anything simply because there's no alternative. All right, so back to basics. What makes me happy? A lot of people really thought that they needed to be out and about all the time, and we saw, right, last year, the moment Sanctions were starting to be lifted in terms of people being able to congregate, right? The moment they were allowed to go back to bars, they were allowed to go back to do social gatherings, they were allowed to go back to concerts, we couldn't trust one another to keep one another safe. We started having more and more cases of COVID-19, the Delta variant. People just started acting irresponsibly. They didn't want to wear their mask. Listen, if you don't believe in a vaccine, you do believe in a vaccine, you know what? I am vaccinated. I think I've said that before. But here's my thing. Not masking and going out in public, not knowing whether or not you're just the act of breathing can hurt others and not caring. There's karma attached to that. You cannot expect a good return on investment when you just literally walk out of your house and go, fuck everybody. I don't care. I'm not wearing a mask, but I'm going to go out here and be amongst you anyway. Yeah. See, that is the major kind of overall lesson. What you do, how you live, how you interact with one another does affect everybody. I mean, I feel like passing on germs is like a basic kind of like, oh, that should be an aha moment. It's not for everyone. I don't know what to say. What gives you joy? So a lot of people have, remembered the importance of family, the importance of friendship, the importance of being able to be around the people that you love, because we have those of us who've socially distanced, those of us who have given great thought to exposing one another to harm, made the personal sacrifices to not see our loved ones, to not travel as much, to, spend the holidays apart so that we could come to a time where it would be possible to be around one another without killing one another. And I know that sounds extreme, but we are talking about something that's killed over 800,000 people in just the US alone. So I applaud everyone who has thought about oneness enough to make these personal sacrifices. Please, I know it's a lot to ask, but please continue to do so. There will come a time where we will be able to be together once again without knowingly or unknowingly putting our lives on the line. There's jobs where you do that. It really shouldn't have to be the case where every time you leave your house to go to a restaurant, or you're going to an airport, or you're going to work, or you're going to school, that you could come back and you have something that could kill you or your family or your children. You know what I mean? It's just, let's go back to basics like love, respect, community, thinking outside of ourselves, beyond ourselves in terms of health, in terms of what the future is going to look like. We're making these decisions right now. If you know you're not feeling well, why would you want to go out and be around other people? What kind of person knowingly exposes others to a possible death sentence? Other than a selfish person, other than a broken person, other than a sick person, sick in spirit, mind, or body. Something is wrong when you feel the need to do that. Whatever your situation, it won't be made a better situation by hurting others. So we're going to be going back to basics. We're going to be remembering what love really is in its most basic form. Taking care of ourselves, taking care of one another, caring about community, having access to clean water, clean air, food, affordable housing, affordable health care. We have been manipulated into believing that not all of us deserve to be here. We have been manipulated into believing that you have to chase, some fake, unfulfilling, sad definition of success, when sometimes success looks like being able to take your next breath and not struggle to do so. Being able to know that you're going to wake up the next day, being able to know your body's going to be there for you, being able to know that your mind is going to be there for you, being able to know that those you love and those who love you will actually be there for one another in any given time, in any given moment. That's no longer the case. So we got to move it back to basics. Listen, I'm an artist. I believe in creating things. I believe in, going to the movies. I believe in going to concerts. I believe in going to art shows. I believe in going to theater, but not at the detriment of my life or your life. That's not even a sane thought process to believe that your boredom, your attempt to avoid yourself, your issues, your hurt, your trauma can be justified by putting other people's lives in danger. And yet here we all are. So it's gonna keep coming, these themes. Back to basics, continuing self-evaluation. Here is another one that the crew wanted me to mention. The continued exploration of gender identity. If you have not thought about this, if you have not done your research on this, if it has not touched your life in some way, shape, or form, first of all, you have to be living under a rock, or you're just fully in denial about it. So let me tell you what the crew says. Gender identity exploration and understanding will continue to expand. People will be forced to choose to accept the fluidity of gender as they realize it may cost them love from friends, family, or their children. The continuing spectrum of the individual identity is on pace with ascension, and that we as creations have always been more complex than we've allowed ourselves to comprehend. Sex is not about procreation, and love's definition has no limitation. So I've been watching this from my little corner of the world, and I'm a huge advocate of the LGBTQI community. I have watched friends and family, struggle with identity, discover identity, and deal with all the backlash that comes with it. And I just want to say that if you're a spiritual person in any capacity, and you believe in some sort of supreme being, and you believe that there is a higher consciousness or a higher power, you cannot believe that and think that there's just a finite definition to gender. It's nowhere in nature. It's been scientifically proven that it is not black and white. We have all these colors in the rainbow flag. We have all these colors in the planet, on the planet, in nature. And yet, people insecure about their own identities, people insecure about their sexuality, people insecure, period, refuse to make room for these people that not only exist, but have always existed. In every culture you can find it. And yet you say you believe in a higher consciousness and a higher power. Well, here's the thing. It's not going away. It's going to expand. So those of you who believe in love, those of you who love your children, love your siblings, love your cousins, love your friends, those of you who claim to love, period, you're going to have to educate yourself. And you're going to have to expand your consciousness and expand whatever limited belief system you have to include these people, because they absolutely are part of all that there is just like the rest of us. And I, for one, am very excited and very blessed to watch how we as a species begin to understand how we are expanding, changing, upgrading, and ascending in all ways. Get with it or be left behind. But the universe doesn't stop for anyone. And speaking about the universe, the next theme, the universe within. This is what the crew says. In this year, some people will begin to understand how their internal universe controls how they perceive and react and shape the external universe. For some, this has already been a lifelong practice. For others, they have been presented this option as they watch the world as they knew it collapse, disappear, or morph into something they either no longer recognize or have a desire to be part of. It becomes clear that if there is to be a positive outcome, it will be created and demanded by those who choose it. The difference is between happiness and superficial success is the difference between living a life from self-love versus a life of social acceptance. See, here's the thing. Almost from the beginning of time, you've had those of us who have sought to be close to spirit, the universe, the cosmos, God, all there is. And then there are those who are fascinated with all the things the human mind can do. And why anyone thinks that these two things need to be separated is beyond me, because it's just not how I've ever believed. It's not been my practice. Why human beings like to segment themselves, why human beings like to usurp power from the individual, why human beings like to organize for the purpose of the self-destruction of us all, I don't know. I mean, I do know it's ego. We have a choice. We have free will. Free will is a double-edged sword. Some of us will choose our free will to better ourselves, better the world, to share, to love, to educate, to, pursue happiness and joy, to ascend. Others of us will choose our darker tendencies, selfishness, power, fear, to either distract or to prove their worthiness. Now, for me, personally, the fact that you exist means you're worthy to exist. But the systems of power that have been designed and have been rolled out and have been supported and have been forced upon in a lot of cases, and that does mean religion, and that does mean government, and that does mean equality, and that does mean worthiness, is so that only a few hold power. But even those who hold power, the universe never allows for them to keep it for very long, because it's out of natural order of things. We're all supposed to have free will. So when we start trying to take it from one another, cage one another, oppress one another, if you're that person who's basically at war with the universe itself, you know that there will come a time where you will fall, you will fail, and everything that you've either stolen, forced, committed acts of violence against, attacked to get more than what truly the universe has decided that we all needed, nothing good will come from it. You may have the things, but you're likely a miserable person because you're always in fear that someone will make you pay for what you did to have the things that you have. Doesn't make for a happy life. And I know happiness isn't always the goal for everyone. It is my goal, but I've lived long enough to understand it is not the goal for everyone. Some people really do seek power, and I guess are okay with the fallout from that. Not knowing love, not knowing how to love, not knowing how to be loved, not knowing what it's like to trust, not knowing what it's like to be trusted, not knowing empathy, not knowing compassion. These are the things that we literally cannot live without. It's right up there with like food, water, shelter, and in a lot of cases, clothing. I don't understand it. But here's the thing. We've been doing this in, various ways almost from the beginning, and it's never worked. It's never worked. Kingdoms, queendoms, tribes, nations, governments, rise and fall and rise and fall and rise. But you know what is constant? What you can count on? What you can bet on? Even in the universe's changing, it still is the shot caller. The ultimate shot caller is the consciousness that decides whether or not your body gets to function with your soul in it. And what I mean by that is, for all the power that humans claim to have, we can't stop life of all creation, just ourselves. Nature always finds a way. It's the thing about the universe. Like, planets die, planets are born. Humans die, humans are born. Different species die. Oh, look, here comes something else. So any idea that we are the owners, that we are the gods and goddesses of all of this, is a lie we tell ourselves. Because we're co-creators. We're not the creator. This is going to come up over and over and over again as you see systems falling apart, and yet those who benefit the most from these systems scramble to try to hold it together. They're willing to watch you die. They're willing to watch me die. They're willing to kill. They are willing to poison. And this isn't controversial. This is actually history. So unless, we the souls who are like, have had enough, stop feeding, the collective monster that, let's face it, is still human. It's still human. We can't expect a positive outcome. So the universe within, love yourself. Serve your best and highest good first. Have more compassion for yourself so you can have compassion for one another. Understand change is constant. And as long as you're embodied, even when you're not, but that's another show, you're going to be asked to upgrade. There is no resisting it, and there be peace. There's no peace in staying the same. You will always be pushed. The universe is always going to be calling. It's always going to be nudging. It's always going to be yelling. It's, come on, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. What do you think angst is? Angst is our inability to settle for what we have right now, where we are right now, what we're doing right now. Because that angst is linked to growth. We are in an infinite journey, you and I. So in 2022, let's just do a recap. The universe within will be a theme. Back to basics will be a theme. The continuation of forced self-evaluation will be a theme. Collaboration will be a theme. Gender identity exploration and understanding will be a theme. See, the thing about it is that to be an individual, you don't need anyone else. You don't. In order to be a society, though, we're all in it together. Okay? So I know this was a long one today, but I'm really thankful that I can break it down for you like this. I'm really blessed that the crew brought these things to my attention, because it's not going to magically get better. It never does. Life isn't going to magically be easier. It never is. Things aren't just going to magically resolve themselves. That's not how it has ever worked since the beginning of us here. We must apply ourselves. We must show up for ourselves and therefore show up for one another. The ascension has not stopped. The ascension is not going to stop. Therefore, I implore you, I beseech you, I ask you, don't you stop either. Okay? Keep going. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope all of you had a great holiday season. I'm still tired and still recovering myself. But we can do this. We can do this. All that's being asked is that you make yourself better so that all of us can be better. All that's being asked is that you treat people the way you want to be treated. All that's being asked is that you push out of your comfort zone and expand your awareness. Normal is changing. You have to change too. Okay? If you need my help, please book a reading, book a, light worker mentoring session. I'm happy to do empath sessions. Like, you don't necessarily need me to predict something. You need me to help you figure out like how to get there. It really is a psychic session, but it's not necessarily about predicting crazy things. It's really more personal than that. If you need Reiki healing, your body's just going through it. Your spirit, mind, and body are a mess. You're tired. You have anxiety. You're depressed. You just want to kind of find, a vacation spot within. You want to find a place where you can be comfortable in your own skin again. What do I need to do to get there? All right, book a Reiki session. I can help you with that. Plus, all of my Reiki sessions actually do come with a psychic reading that you get as a courtesy, because bodies talk and I listen. Okay, so happy 2022 if you choose it. Okay, thanks so much. Again, if you've enjoyed this message, you've been enjoying the channel, make sure you like this video, make sure you subscribe. Please comment. I can't wait to hear you guys' comment on this one. I know it's a long one, but it required it, and save it. Bookmark it. I can't say that enough. You're going to want to refer back to this, all right? Thanks again. I will talk to you soon. We'll be back next week with a, more brief message for the collective. Once again, I am so honored that you joined me, and I will see you next week. Mwah! Namaste.